This is Eric Smith. Just thought I'd shoot a really quick video to try to encourage you Christians about this time of year. We're in September right now, and usually around the country in the United States of America, people are either going to start sending their kids to school or they've probably already started sending their kids to school. And as Christians, we always have to make these really tough decisions. Do we send our kids to a public school? Do we send them to a private school? Do we send them to a Christian school, or do we homeschool? Personally, I think one of the best choices is to homeschool your children as a Christian, but sometimes Christians feel led to send their kids to a public school or maybe even a private school. Well, there was a video or a set of videos that just came out the last few days from Project Veritas. They're an organization, they're kind of like a whistleblower, and they usually blow the whistle on a lot of liberal and socialist things that are going on. And they had two videos really exposing the agenda and the mindset of people in public school. Now, as Christians, we should already understand their mindset, to be honest with you. But sometimes we may delude ourselves into thinking, well, not everybody in public schools like that. But these two particular videos were very, startling. One video was a assistant principal who was basically telling an undercover reporter that he doesn't hire like conservatives or Catholics, and he literally in an undercover way tries to push a liberal, democratic, even socialist agenda. And then there was another video where there's a teacher at I forgot the name of the school. I think it's Trinity School. It's a really old school, and she's a teacher there, and she basically told an undercover reporter basically the same thing, that she couldn't stand conservatives, Republicans, and they were trying to, in an undercover way, push a particular agenda. As a Christian, this should really not only disturb us, because personally as a Christian it does, but as Christians in general, it should really disturb us and wake us up to the agenda that's going on in public schools. And if you get a chance to watch these videos, maybe I'll put a link below to the two videos, it should wake you up that some of our best alternatives when it comes to teaching our children should be homeschooling, because teaching has everything to do with discipleship. And now we don't connect the dots there, but it's true. When we send our kids off to public school or even private schools, we are having someone else disciple our children. And I want to read a bunch of verses that talk about that. I'm going to start with Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 4 through 9. This is the Shema, and it reads, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your strength. And these words which I command you today shall be in your heart. You shall teach them diligently to your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down, and when you rise up. You shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. You shall write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates." This was a command for the nation of Israel, for fathers and mothers to actually hear the Word of God and keep the Word of God because they love the Lord, and then teach it to their children and teach it diligently. And even though this is a theocracy, notice that this was something that the parents were supposed to do as part of theocracy. Now, we may think, oh, we're not living in a theocracy, we're strangers and pilgrims in a strange land as Christians, but we're still God's people, and we should still heed these commands here. We should be teaching our children the Word of God. Now, someone might say, well, what does that have to do with sending them to public school? You know what? In the nation of Israel, theology and learning the Word of God was not separate from learning other things. Everything was connected to God. And in the same way, we need to connect everything to God. We need to do that. If we teach math, we should teach that it's from God, that it's absolute like God. If we teach English, we should connect it to the fact that God is the creator of all languages. If we teach science, we should tell our children that science is knowledge. We're seeing how God upholds everything through the scientific method. And if we teach history, we can see the providence of God and see it's His story. So we could connect all these subjects to God as the creator of all things. I want to read Ephesians chapter 6. Sorry, my bird in the background squawking. This is Ephesians 6, 1 through 4. It says, "Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor your father and mother, which is the first commandment with promise, that it may be well with you and you may live long on the earth. And you, fathers, do not provoke your children to wrath, but bring them up in the training and admonition of the Lord." Now you notice in these verses, it tells children to obey their parents. And they have the same promise that's back in the Ten Commandments in Exodus 20:12. That fifth commandment has a promise that the children are going to live well. And that promise still holds now. So the children should obey the parents. And then notice in verse 4, it tells us as fathers. Doesn't mean the mothers aren't involved. But the fathers are to bring their children up in the training and admonition of the Lord. Well, that's more than just the Word of God. That's also applying the Word of God in every aspect of their lives. In all the subjects we give them, when they're working, how they're supposed to interact with people. If we send our kids to public school, they're going to teach them how to interact with the world based on their worldview. And that's a pagan worldview. But you know what? We should teach them all things as it pertains to God. And if you go to Proverbs chapter 1 and read verses 8 and 9, it reads this way. "My son, hear the instruction of your father, and do not forsake the law of your mother, for they will be a graceful ornament on your head and chains about your neck." Notice that the children are supposed to, and particularly it says the sons, are supposed to hear the instructions of their fathers and not forsake the law of their mothers. As fathers and mothers, we're supposed to teach our children the commandments and the laws of God, and then the application of it. And those things even pertain to what? Math, science, English, everything, every aspect of it, even music. Everything has to do with God. If we disconnect those subjects to God, then your children are going to get a secular viewpoint. But if you connect the things to God, they're going to learn all those things, and they're wonderful things to learn, but they're going to understand that they all come from God. So dear Christian, when you see those videos from Project Veritas actually showing that these people have an agenda, and I know a Christian might hear this and go, "Well, I send my kids to public school. I don't think my teacher would act like that. I don't think that they're thinking that." Well, you know what? The assistant principal and the teacher in these videos probably aren't coming right out and telling people these things. But when these reporters asked the right questions in the right circumstances, they revealed their heart. Now, you may think, "Well, Eric, you don't know the heart of the teacher that is teaching my children. You don't know the heart of every single person." Well, actually, I do know the heart of them. They're sinners, and Jeremiah 17:9 talks about their heart. And when you read that verse, it tells you something really startling about the heart of a person. And the heart is not just their intellect, but their emotions, their whole being. And it says that they have a wicked, deceitful heart. And sometimes it doesn't come right out. But you know what? A lot of those teachers in those public schools have an agenda to teach your children socialist things, pagan things. So when you see these videos come out, and these videos are from unsaved people exposing them, it should be a warning to you, Christian, and a reminder that you need to disciple your children. Those videos are a reminder to us as Christians that we need to be serious about our discipleship. Now, if you feel like you want to send your kids to a public school or even a private school, that's up to you. But you better be on your guard and know that they're teaching your kids some of the things that are in those videos. And even if you send them to a Christian school, you better make sure that those Christian schools are grounded in the Word of God. But if you can homeschool your kids, and connect everything that they're doing to the Word of God, you're going to see that it's going to be a blessing to your children, because you're not only discipling them in the Word of God, but in the application of the Word of God in every sphere of life. And that's why we need to take seriously when we see videos exposing the pagan mindset of people in the public schools, because guess what? They're trying to teach your children those things. So let it be a warning to you. Let it be a serious warning. Let those videos warn you that you need to be on guard and disciple your children in the Lord. Just wanted to make this quick video. I hope it will encourage you and edify you and even warn you. Be on your guard, because what's in those videos is probably in your kid's public school. But if you can take the time to actually homeschool your children and disciple them, your children, yourself, you know what? You're going to be able to guard them against those things. And then they're going to grow up and know how to navigate through the sinful world. It's going to be hard for them to navigate through a sinful world when the sinful people are discipling our children. And when they go to public school, that's exactly what they're doing. So I thank you for listening. I thank you for watching, and God bless.